Hello. Well, since we talked last fall, we were talking about thought and how that turns into consciousness. And several questions spun off of that. And I guess the first thing was the idea of thought turning into consciousness, and then what is consciousness in terms of law of attraction? Does law of attraction hold together who we are in terms of our thoughts? I was just trying to put a little better handle on what consciousness really is.
Well, that's a fairly good way of saying it. And all of these words are too general, and all of them mean pretty much the same thing. In other words, whether we use the word thought or energy or vibration or consciousness, we're still talking about this vibrational beingness that is arranged and managed by, as you just accurately said, law of attraction. So if you want to sort of define it in a way that might make it easier to get your mind around it, there's another one, is to say that there is thought, and let's call that the smallest particle in this sequence, and then there is emotion that indicates where the thought is in relationship to the thought that the inner being thinker is thinking. And of course, all this thinker that is you in your physical form and the thinker that is your inner being is much more than just a thinker. You are consciousness, because you cannot separate yourself from the singular thought that you're thinking right now, because the thought that you're thinking right now only represents a cadre of thoughts that you've been thinking. And so consciousness would be as we say that law of attraction is gathering the cooperative components, let's call that gathering consciousness, just for the sake of clarity in your question, you see. But of course, anyone can pull themselves from this. When you are in vibrational alignment with the consciousness that is your source, you're seeing the world through the eyes of source. And if you could practice that consciousness on a steady enough basis, then the thoughts, the petty little thoughts, or the uncomfortable thoughts, or the unnecessary thoughts or the unwanted thoughts could not become part of your experience, because your consciousness is practiced into this higher vibration. So we like the tone of this, because we could say that this consciousness that is the source energy consciousness, when you come into alignment with this source energy consciousness, that's when you revel in your beingness, you see.
I've been feeling that recently as part of coaching, and my wife and I do workshops, private workshops, to do with law of attraction, and I felt that amazing feeling of alignment. And I want to do that more. In fact, that kind of leads into my next question, which had to do with career. You sort of answered it.
But before you go further, we want to help you to understand what you're feeling. Okay. So when you are in a presentation mode, like our friend with his conducting of music, or with in a situation like this where we are consciousness that is focusing together and then together coming into alignment, this consciousness that we come into alignment about, what you're feeling is your alignment with that broader consciousness, but you're also feeling your audience's participation in it. Yeah. That's why it feels more when you're in the process of your presentation than it ever does when you're in the process of preparing your presentation.
So the rush I'm feeling is really the energy starting to move, or moving, accelerating when we're having the conversation.
Yes.
We had that last night with a couple. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Went on with for hours about this subject and everything.
And again, as we were talking just earlier, that rush, when you feel that rush of energy moving, it means that the physical you is being elevated to a higher vibration. That's what that rush is.
Right.
Because energy is always moving. In other words, when you come into the consciousness that is you, that consciousness is always moving forward also. So it's sort of like, it's like climbing to the top of the slippery slide, and all of that is motion forward, all of that is motion forward, all of that is motion forward. In other words, you're efforting to some degree, and then you reach that place where you allow the natural law of gravity to take over, and there is that rush where no more effort is required. The laws of the universe are just going to take over and carry you for a while. That's what that feeling is.
Okay.
And it is ever present. You never reach the place where there is not another potential rush for you, because that's what we adore about these gatherings. Already today there have been 7, 8, 9 rushes of new thought that have not been there before. You see, already in this very short exchange.